All right, I hit record and go ahead.
Shiver me timbers, Jesters! Yes, that's right! The Buccaneers are the Super Bowl champions, much to the chagrin of our dear Kopy. But I, Coach Dub, am celebrating in my heart, because boy, what a cool storyline to come to fruition. But you know what else is cool storylines? This Jesters season. We are in week 3, and it's time to recap everything that went down. So let's bring in Sourpuss himself, the king of the Green Bay Packers, who lie defeated on the ground to the eventual champions. It's Kopy.
Hey, what are you talking about? I'm cheering for the Bucks.
Oh,
That-
you've already moved on to a new
I don't.
sport.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Never
Already.
been a football fan, not once. Nice to have you, Kopy. Thanks for joining me. I just got done with Del Sol's recording, so I sit here in my studio ready to talk to you this week. I hope you don't mind.
Uh,
And how's the quality of the audio? Would Tabs be jealous over at West Tech?
yes, Tabs would be very jealous.
That's what I'm talking
I, I
about.
don't know. I'm
Yeah,
just
no,
assuming.
she's got a great mic set up for her own podcast, which is called Players Are You Ready? Be sure to check it out. I'm going to plug it whenever I want because that's such a cool thing. But
Mhm.
let's go ahead and talk about week 3 in Jester's Land. Overall, how did this week go for you, my friend?
You know, each season, and you've been around long enough to know this. Each season kind of has us like an ebb and flow to it, and just we hit pockets of time where we have real strong performances and performances where we just got to try some new stuff, and we definitely haven't hit a dip yet. So a lot of good stuff this week, a lot of good matchups where on paper it was like, ooh, this could be good, and then the execution was just as good. So
Good.
I feel like this video could be really long with how neat a lot of the things were that I got to watch this week.
Well, 2 weeks ago, I had a 15-minute hard out. Last week, you had a 20-minute hard out. This week, we've got 48 minutes we could potentially use to talk Jesters. So, you know us, we can settle in and have a crazy long conversation. Why don't we jump into it?
Sure, let's do
Cool.
it.
You guys can see it. It's shows from a hat time, and I'm just going to reach right up in there and grab the first of our shows, and they're just going to rest where they want. I grabbed too many. Hang on 1 second. They're going to rest where they want. I don't really care. Let's see. This first show of week 3, let's talk Valley versus Legacy.
I made the comment on Valley, maybe in their first week or last week, about just small teams. Because yeah, it was the Valley Cheyenne show. I said small teams, watch
Right.
out, like
Yeah.
they're coming, and tons of belly laughs for me from actually both Legacy and Valley. Um, I've been doing this a long time. I would put my hour sheet
40 years.
for how many hours I've put into this up against anyone in the world. That's how many hours I've done. So I'm not saying it's hard to make me laugh, but
Right.
I get it. I've been in a lot of these scenarios so many times.
Yeah.
And I had a lot of belly laughs between these two. Watch Kyla and Maddie and What Else You Got. Just goofy, funny characters. I mean, that comes to mind immediately. Probably the most aggressive I've seen Isabella was in that same game of What Else You Got. And I know Isabella really wants to put her best foot forward. Aiden's getting comfortable. And Louis is such, God, man, Louis from Legacy. They played a game of dubbing, just straight dubbing, no weird dubbing, just
Oh.
straight dubbing. And Louis manufactured such a weird, goofy, funny little story that had me drawn in pretty good. And they're getting used to each other. They're getting comfortable. Gigi's getting comfortable over there. So yeah, there's a lot of fun in that one for sure.
Does Valley continue to be an interesting dark horse to come out of their division, do you think?
I do. I mean, the smaller the team, maybe the easier the chemistry. Maybe is definitely the big word there. So that
Uh-huh.
doesn't mean that you sync up or you become friends or you know what I mean. Just the more reps you have someone with someone, the more you can understand things.
Yeah.
So Valley has that in front of them as such a small team, and you know what, Legacy's not that big either. So I mean, all the way around, both of those teams could benefit from that.
Yeah. One of my favorite things I remember from watching one of Legacy's scenes was Louis filming in, I think, a bathroom and like having like this cool side perspective. Are you seeing some cool alternative camera work coming out of those schools?
Yeah, you see that kind of sparingly. Not a ton of that yet, but Louis is definitely one of them.
Yeah.
Oh, and then the challenge I said last week, I challenged Legacy. So Coach Justin got mad at me and sent me a
Oh,
text.
yes. Tell me what it was. What game was it?
I challenged him to Balladeer,
Oh, that's right. The rap game.
the rap game.
How do you play
So
that for those of us who don't know?
think of the game Dime Store Novel,
Uh-huh.
and instead of having an author, you have a rapper. So
Oh,
someone who just raps like
okay.
a piece of a storyline, and then they interchangeably go back and forth between the
Oh, man.
rapper and then the scene.
Oh, I
Um,
like that.
so Coach Justin, even he didn't rely on me putting in music. He put on his own beat for Louis, and then Louis just kind of tried to freestyle a little bit, and then they played out the scene in between. So, and I told Justin too. I was like, "What are you talking about? How can you not take that challenge? Like, you've got
Yeah.
the perfect team for that."
Cool.
So,
I'm glad
yeah,
he did. I'm glad that they pushed forward. I had a frustrating challenge over at Del Sol too, and we'll talk on that when we get there. But let's jump into our next school. Let's see if I can pull just one out this time. There we go. How about our second game of the week? It is ATech versus Spring Valley.
this was the longest show of the week.
Wah, wah.
Yeah, I'm not saying that as a bad thing. It's kind of cool that we're putting in so many hours working at this stuff. So, longest show of the week, but a lot of quality. I know in watching through some of Spring Valley's videos, like pre-edit before it made it in the show, like I could see where they were tired and
Yeah.
where they were, but they wanted to do as good as they could,
Hmm.
which was really encouraging. I feel like Nicole's turning a corner. It's kind of cool to see a 4-year player turning a corner.
Okay.
M is powerful, man. M can really light up a room.
Yeah. Yeah.
Kevin's finding a stride. Gordon's always been clever. So cool to see there. And then ATEC is still just blazing down the field. Just
Yeah.
Jonathan too. I think Jonathan might be turning his corner as well. Like such.
Jonathan didn't have much of a corner to turn left, if you're asking me.
Yeah, but we can always improve on something,
Oh, I'm
right?
sure. Yeah.
So I just speaking of Nicole and Jonathan, it's just nice to see that they can add more depth.
I would
Whenever
just. You
that
want to talk about
that's
two kids that would be fun to watch on screen together? That makes me want to circle that show for a Jonathan versus Nicole matchup.
for
Actually,
sure,
yeah,
absolutely. Um,
fireworks, eh?
yep, Jessica. Jessica showed me some stuff in the show too, where I was like, ooh. I told Song that Jackie's on the wrong team. I said Jackie should be on Team Adorable, and she
Aw.
must have stole her somehow. Um, so yeah, just a lot of fun. Good work in that one for sure.
Congrats on a good show. I'm sure it was fun, and I will have to see what that game was all about because I'm ready to see kids like Jonathan and Nicole turn a corner. If
Mhm.
he says that happened, then go back and check it out. Give those 4-year students some props. Though Jonathan's a 3, he would have been a
Right,
4, right? Yeah.
right.
We've been there before. This is a big one. I don't know which game this is, but it's giant and it is appropriately large as I lose another one down from my hat. And that is Shadow Ridge and Northwest CTA.
One of our Monday night shows this week.
Monday Night Improv. Sorry.
Yeah. So Northwest, I mean, Isaiah in good form as Isaiah tends to be. We got Erica in there.
Mm-hmm.
Even the staff caught the Northwest video in the editing room, so to speak, and saw Erica on screen, and immediately was just like, "Wow, she's still in the league. Awesome."
Yeah.
Just Erica's done a lot of stuff already in her 3 years. So and then Shadow Ridge still just come. And Miley's got such a way of like a structure and a way that she likes to do things, and I love it. I love her style, and her team is clearly her team. So
Good.
just with more time, I'm excited to see more of that. The coin toss. This was probably one of my favorite coin tosses this week. We had some technical difficulties before we even could record, so we ended up spending extra time just chatting and whatnot. And they were just so nice to each other, Josie and Aaliyah, and just very pleasant. That
Good.
alone was like, oh, this is a nice break of a day for sure. So good work all the way around. Got Iva in her first show for Shadow Ridge.
Mm-hmm.
Got Josie in her first show for Northwest this year. So there's good. Oh, Coach Noah at Northwest goofed,
Uh-oh, we hate
and
goofs.
and he played the wrong Kopy challenges, and
No.
he recorded Shadow Ridge's Kopy challenges.
Oh, and that's what happened.
And Miley, just being a champ, was like, all right, whatever, I'll just do yours. But
Ooh.
but we're talking veteran Northwest against brand new Shadow Ridge.
Yeah,
One
baby
of
boy.
one of the games I challenged Northwest to is Step Out Musical.
No.
So Miley just did it.
What? Are you serious?
Yeah.
It's inner
Yeah.
monologue, but with singing, right?
Right.
Oh my God. No
and
way.
and they were comfortable. It didn't phase them a bit. Iva had no problem doing it. It's in her first show. I mean, really only the second show for the other ones, but yeah, they did it.
Step up music. I got to be honest with you. All of the variety of games we're seeing in this year is so much fun for me because as I've been teaching four squares and inner monologues for so long, it's fun to find, switch left with dub and balladeer and now step up musical. Like you're just inspiring me. I keep thinking of like kids I want to try to work into these games, and I bet it's a lot of fun to watch a school so raw try something so out there for our league in general. And how did it go?
They were comfortable. Everything that Miley does, her kids are comfortable and prepared and just ready to do it. So
Don't don't you just
then,
love when these young coaches come in with plans and organization?
and she does, and Miley's got a syllabus, and like she's ready, man. Now my challenge to Shadow Ridge, and this is also going to carry over to Miley's other team, is please stand up. I think Aaliyah has way too much good positive energy to just keep it confined to a chair. I just want to let Aaliyah out of the cage to fly. So yeah, just stand up. You're gonna have even more fun.
Yeah.
So
That will continue to be something we harp on every week if we need to. So
right.
stand up and deliver, friends. You deserve it, and your improv deserves it. Let's move on, if we can, to how about Team Adorable versus Team Love? A matchup we
Yeah.
always look forward to. It's Centennial versus Clark.
You know, I enjoyed a lot of this show because of just the work they did. Not anything to do with the adorableness and the loveness, like just from the actual what they did from an improv standpoint. So I found myself at the end of the show going, man, I just watched some good stuff. I
Good.
feel like this was probably Clark's best show I've seen in a minute. Like,
Good.
yeah,
Good.
that really got me. I know I offered some comments to Clark this past week just about things I observe that they can improve on, and some of them they hit for sure.
Good.
And then on the other side for Centennial, Kaylee, man, Kaylee has definitely filled those shoes of Mackenzie. And
Good.
just solid. Wow. Just I was watching Kaylee and I was like, Kaylee could do anything.
Good.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Those are the favorite moments when you start to see students emerge who are grasping every aspect of the game, right?
Yep.
Yeah, and I was sitting in on the practice for Team Love and watching Jarrell piece together his plan this past week and getting Haley Garcia, my student coach, over there to Clark to play with them. So it was fun to see what their thought processes were, and to know that it came out into a great show is a wonderful thing to hear. So
Oh
we'll
yeah.
just have to see how those teams continue to blossom, but it certainly sounds like they're finding their culture for sure.
Hmm.
Cool.
Well, we're just gonna grow and get better. So that's what the season's all about.
That's right. And, we may be halfway through it, folks, but sort of. We still got 5 weeks left on the main schedule, but
Mhm.
you're starting to get your groove and try new things. And that's what's most important. Just like I'm sure East Tech and West Tech, the techies, tried some new things in their show, right?
Yep. I tried playing that up in the coin toss, East versus West.
It's the techies. Let's go. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I tried. I failed, I think, in my coin toss, but
It's okay. You
nonetheless,
fell at a lot of things that we
I
don't point out for you.
I know, and you should. Uh, um, okay, so on the East Tech side of it, I'm loving what Kit is doing. Um, they started a game of slideshow where on the first slide, she was one of the slides, she went running to jump on her desk and fell off her desk. and immediately popped up and was like, nope, I'm getting in my slide. Um, I'm loving that energy, that positivity. I'm happy Kit's in some shows this year. Kit didn't play in any last year. If you remember from that interview we did with her,
Yep.
just a preview. So I'm happy there. Kylan felt a lot more comfortable this week. So I feel like first show to second show, because there was a bye in there. First show to second show, solid for East Tech. On the West Tech side of it, it's kind of funny when you talk to West Tech. Anyone on West Tech, they all seem to love Adam. Adam was on the show this week, and he was on the team last year. But a lot of first year schools follow a pattern where the first year they kind of are discovering themselves and who and what and how, and you just don't know a lot of stuff. Adam came out of that first year group into the second year, and everyone just loves Adam. He's nice, and everyone wants to do scenes with him, and Adam's just that guy. So Adam got in this show with 3 newbies, 3 students who haven't been in the show yet, first timers, and it was solid. And they contributed, and they actually did good work. Like I remember watching some of the games and thinking, okay, clearly there's some training behind it. Like even though we're new, we know of some ways to do certain things.
Right.
So you can't argue with that, man.
No, progress is a big indicator. I mean, a lot of schools who are hoping for a championship this year are going to be disappointed. But the truth is that as long as you're making progress, you're making progress in life. That's the beauty of improv. So you got something to say, I can tell.
It happens all the time, but West Tech's got a first year senior who's a senior that's solid and just makes me go, Arr! So Hannah's a senior and it's her first year, and I was like, darn it.
Yeah. So. Yeah, I feel that every time you stumble upon a student that thinks they know who they are enough, where it's like, why did I get you so late? Like, man, I just wanted you like 3 years sooner, please. Yeah, I feel that all the time. Let's do our other Monday show, shall we? Desert Pines and Basic.
This was one of those that on paper it felt like it was going to be good, and the result was definitely good.
Good.
I think Basic still just Basic. I can tell the same story every week, and they're going to live up to it. They're just trying to do good work and solid work, and for it to make sense and to progress and so on.
I like this matchup because weren't these the first 2 teams to get to play with the wild cards?
Yes.
Now going toe to toe. So finally they get to play a normal school. I bet they both came out like a house on fire.
Yeah, it was solid both sides. Basic scene work, of course, is always going to be there. The confidence Desert Pines has, I mean, their story just keeps going on that route. Karen and Sarah, they're just goofballs, man.
I'm sorry, I'm just gonna say it. I like Sarah a lot this year. Yep. She's beautifully creating. I went back and I did my homework. I watched Desert Pines and Wildcard last week, and Sarah was so great, especially next to a Jalen who has such unbelievable presence, yet simplicity to what Jalen chooses to do. Those two make a great duo over there. I really like their core.
And I think Karen's improved along with that. So Karen was strong last year, but Karen has no problem standing there and putting her foot down.
Given a lot more fruit this year, for sure.
Sure.
It's fun to see. So I bet Basic, that's a good show. I will have to go check that out. I'm stoked for that. And they have a lot of really cool pieces down in Desert Pines and tricks up their sleeve we haven't seen yet. Keep your eyes peeled. But first, let's talk Secta and LVA.
So Secta also played 3 new players this week.
Oh boy.
And one of those new players, the fortune teller was the game. I'm listening to her be the fortune teller, and I'm like, man, you sound just like Delilah from the radio station. You know what I'm talking about? Delilah?
Yeah, hey there, Delilah. What's it like in New York City?
Nope, that's not what I meant.
What?
Well, anyway, if anyone knows who I'm talking about, the radio DJ, the like nationwide radio DJ that does soft rock or whatever it is.
Like Hey There, Delilah by the Plain White Tees. Go ahead. I'm sorry. I'm messing with you.
Anyway, so I was listening to it. I was like, man, this is weird. This is kind of trippy. And then it was kind of cool because I know Mr. Ingles loves to have. Mr. Ingles is the coach and teacher of Secta. I know he loves to have veteran leadership whenever he plays people in shows. So he had Ava in there, which made me feel good because I know that I liked Ava a lot from the start, and now she is now considered a veteran. So it's like,
Yeah.
oh, look at that, Ava's crossed that threshold.
Yeah.
So Ava +3 new players, and then an LVA man. Wow. On fire this week for sure. Caroline, Caroline just went for it.
Oh,
There's
cool.
so much fun energy out of Caroline this week. Gaia's funny. Elliot was. What can you say about Elliot, man?
Yep.
Um,
The biggest thing that happened in our league was watching him come of age right there in the middle of the championship show, because he's never looked back.
if I'm sure if we do anniversary videos again at some point, that moment will be brought up. Yeah.
Yeah,
That everyone will talk about that.
a moment where we all knew a flower had blossomed, right?
Yep.
Yeah, it's cool stuff. But they're killing it this year still and trying new things. But it's nice to hear you mention a student other than Eli and Elliot who are punching in the ticket for LVA. So Cynthia had a good one, huh?
Caroline.
Caroline, sorry.
Yeah,
Darn it.
Caroline.
Trying to get names like you do, but you're so much better than I am.
That's okay. Caroline, this is her second show. She did one earlier or a week or two ago. I don't know, first to second week jump, confidence, whatever. But this show is like, man, this is Caroline's show. Like, she really put it out there. So,
Cool.
yeah, top to bottom.
Nice.
Mhm.
Sounds like a fun one, but Secta, like under control a little bit?
Yeah, well, I mean, anytime you're gonna do well, also remember first show online, and when three of the students are all first show and it is also online,
Yeah.
I mean, you know what I mean? You're only going to be able to do so much because you just don't have the experience.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So they just got to do a couple and get the reps in and see a couple of these shows. And
but Ava being leaderly, there is
that's
that
right
to look forward to.
Yep.
Ooh, this one's fun. I have a little young leader over at Del Sol. I can sense Ollie in their first show this week, having a good first show by our standards. Tell me what you thought of the overall picture of Del Sol and my old school, Sierra Vista. That seemed like a real fun matchup.
Another on paper one, where on paper it looked like, man, this is also going to be a good one.
Yeah.
And you got to see some good work all the way around again. So, I mean, it's just coincidence that you do these with me, but Del Sol, each show has just been killing it, man.
Good.
Everything.
Glad you feel that way. It means a lot to us, I'm sure.
Everything they're doing, just killing it. And I get it with Ollie. Each new person you put in a show, I'm just like, what are you doing, Warren? Like, what are you putting in the milk?
I'm getting very, very lucky.
Okay, that's fair. That's absolutely fair.
Yeah.
You warned me before this week's show, and you said, Kopy, you're gonna love what Mia did, and you couldn't have been any more right.
Yeah, so it's moving bodies. You sent me moving bodies, and I'll go ahead and be vocal, Justin, right now, because I went, how on earth am I going to take a game where typically we have an audience member come on stage and move the bodies for our students when they perform it? You know, I talked to the kids. They're like, I don't have anybody in the house who's comfortable going on YouTube and, you know, moving my body. So I'm like, we got to figure it out. So what did you think of our contingency plan? And yeah, Mia really, really, really did glue it. Really glued it.
And well, not even just that game, just everything. Yeah, that's all. I forget the game off the top of my head, but Mia jumping in their bed.
Oh, yes.
And that really intense, like, oh my God, I'm trying to remember what they said. But anyway, that moment, I was just like, oh, I was like victory.
Hands up.
Yeah. The moving bodies thing. So if anyone watches this game, Christian and
you're talking about me and radio going for the holy iron. Is that what you're talking about?
Yes, the holy iron. The holy iron. Right.
Yes.
Yep. There it was.
Loved seeing Mia do that. She took that from Robin. They took that from Robin with the whole closet thing. You know, Mia's really watching their teammates and grabbing everything. Yep. Everything.
Absolutely. Well, and then the moving bodies thing. So they played the moving bodies to where Christian and Mia blocked their camera so they couldn't see it. So,
Their
and
screens, yeah, their
they couldn't
screens.
see their screen. They couldn't see what was happening, but they were the actual bodies just trying to react to what Adina and Ali were talking about
Yeah,
and what they were saying. So Adina and Ali, it was only their face in the camera, just their face, to where Christian and me were doing all the physicality. So
yeah,
I thought that was a neat way of doing it, and knowing that they couldn't actually see the scene, I think adds a layer. There are a couple of times where it looked like maybe they were both going for the same motions, but you could see when they were listening for, oh, well, wait, this isn't me, this is he. Like, they were
yeah,
trying to see the difference in what was
yeah.
being said and done. Um, so, and that's what I like about this year, is we're all taking on these fun little challenges.
Oh yeah.
So
I'm glad we came up with a version of the game you could accept, but I have to take just a second to give a highlight because we saw a brand new game to the league created by Christian, my senior. What was
yep,
that like?
yep. So there's a game that they played called Brought to You By, that you see me introduce. But the only way that I was able to introduce it was by Christian sending me a video of the explanation, sent me a separate video to say, Kopy, this is how it's played.
Yeah,
So then I just reworded it and said it Kopy like.
yep,
And then we watched it. We watched the actual game, the scene.
yep.
So it had a pattern, it had a structure. Creating games is really difficult. For any of you that have ever thought, man, I can create an improv game, I just want you to know how hard that is to do.
100%.
That is really, really hard. I have made so many games that are just awful. So
Yep, you have.
so yeah, it had a structure. It had some meat to it. That could totally work. That could totally be a game that you revisit and play with, and so
Hmm.
on.
Christian and the rest of his freshman class, anchored by Mia and Robin this year, they came up with that game a few years ago, and we played it in a showcase show a couple of years ago, but they didn't get to play it for the league. So I'm really glad that they brought it out for this year. Really wanted to make sure they had that opportunity. And yeah, I think they did an amazing job, especially getting to loop in a freshman like Ollie and have them have their own presence in the game. Super proud of what they did. It's just so cool to be a part of Del Sol Improv. And
Right.
we'll move on.
Well,
Sorry.
well, hold on, because Sierra Vista didn't get any of this love here.
Oh my gosh, you're right. I'm so selfish. I'll be quiet.
That's fine. So on the Sierra Vista side of it, we got to see our MVP nominated Misha back in the
Yep.
lineup.
Always a pleasure.
Yep, they had a bye week, so there was only 2 shows so far for them. So Misha got in this one, and Misha just kind of makes things look effortless, man.
Yeah.
Just I see Misha perform, and I think of Maya a lot,
Mm-hmm.
where everything just kind of comes naturally, no matter what the curveballs are.
Mm-hmm.
And they had 2 newbies in there. So Fox is only Fox's second show, Julian's first show.
Mm-hmm.
Giselle, I think Giselle's only done 1 or 2 shows last year.
Mm-hmm.
So just kind of cool to see what they put together whenever they do it, because Sierra Vista's kind of been this wildfire for the past 2 years.
Yeah.
And it's been awesome to see. So to get some notoriety and let the Mishas and the Vivs kind of rule the world is kind of what they're all about right now.
And it's great
So
to see from former coach land. But I did enjoy the game. I want to give a shout out to Giselle for really throwing everything she did at the wall. I thought there was a lot of really cool takes taken in that. It was fun seeing Julian, who I got to see practice once. I think Julian's got a lot of raw mental talent, right?
Julian likes to create costumes. Like, I feel
Yes.
like he spends an hour every week just creating costumes, and he literally leaves right next to himself. So then
Mm-hmm.
as he's playing, he just turns it into all these different people and characters.
Yeah.
He really enjoys that. Like,
Yeah.
that's totally his thing.
Speaking of characters, Fox
Right,
did Stitch for us. It was great. Yeah.
right, right.
It was
Absolutely.
fun. So fun game. I really enjoyed watching it. Great job, Sierra Vista, and keep up the great work as you move into the new year, further into the new year. And speaking of moving further, let's move further into the recap with El Dorado and Cimarron. Whoa, what a
Yeah,
matchup.
powerful on paper, same thing. I was just like,
Yep.
man, I'm ready for this. And I wasn't disappointed. So on the Eldorado side of it, or well, actually, both teams decided to play a version of Six Things, like a different version.
Oh, good. Somebody else tries miming.
Yeah. So that was cool. That was their agreed game where both teams got to do it.
Yeah.
so automatically, I was happy to see the new take on it, because I always want new takes on stuff, guys. Don't think I'm that old of a stubborn guy. I want to see new stuff. Go for it.
Yeah.
And then, and then of course we know El Dorado has all those veterans that are there now.
Yeah.
So that, I mean, it's just fun to watch them have fun.
Yep.
For Cimarron, there's definitely a small chemistry there too. Just four very different brains that were in this last show, and
Okay.
just funny. They're just funny, and I don't know what it is about Cimarron. We said it last week, and here we are again.
Yeah, well, they have lots of stuff in their milk. That's all I can say.
Yeah, they always have since day one. I feel like orientation at Cimarron is very different than at every other school.
It would be fun to have a conversation sometime if Cimarron's the school that really does secondary thinking and the humor of what we do so naturally. I
Mhm.
wonder which schools would be like the storytelling schools, maybe basic. You mention every week
For
how their
sure.
teamwork is so strong.
Yep.
Yep, and it's just fun to see how each school tends to excel in something, but it's remarkable with how many different coaches Cimarron has had recently that they continue to have secondary thinking. So
Well, historically, right now, Cimarron's only on their second coach with Justin, but and this is Justin's third year with them, I think now.
yeah,
Um,
they're settled in. It's true,
right.
but
But
some of them have come from different schools and all that good stuff.
right. But the trick of it is who you work with and who you play with. So
Mhm.
you're never going to have like an MVP candidate without someone who's just as strong behind him. And then
Mm,
without someone else that does this well, or without someone else that does that well.
true.
So if you've got someone who's really solid at scene work, that's going to help someone else become really solid at scene work. And that's going to help evolve where your team is.
Hmm.
Burkhart, with just kind of their confidence and their pun telling, if one person can do it, everyone's going to be able to do it.
Hmm.
So Cimarron just keeps falling into that void of, well, someone can do this, and now this person can also do this, and it's just who they are.
Yeah,
So
they're good at
yeah,
absorbing each other's skill sets.
absolutely.
And there are schools out there that definitely are doing that, and I see which ones they are. But watch some Cimarron, guys. If there again, we talk about the milk for a reason.
Mhm.
Go watch the milk. And speaking of Burkhart, you mentioned them. Yanked them out of my hat for Burkhart versus Pahrump.
Yep. For Burkhart, Marley was definitely in top form. Yep. She was very traditional Miley, going for it.
Marley.
Marley.
Is Marley ever not in top form?
Uh, Probably not.
Can't answer
Yeah,
that.
probably not.
Meh.
From the top of the show, from the very first game, super strong. I'm a big fan of Molly and Bailey. And I try and throw their names out there anytime we get in these videos, because I just want them to know and hear that I like what they do. I think they do so much for Burkhart. But they have a lot of other players as well. So we got to see David this week. David was a fun, kind of energetic little guy last year,
Uh-huh.
and his hair grew faster than anyone I've ever seen in a year of COVID.
Wow.
Holy cow. On the other side with Pahrump took some of the notes about standing up. So it just changed everything about the energy. I know our siblings might naturally be kind of more of a verbal performers, but man, just the expression and the hand gestures, just what standing allows us to do versus sitting.
Yeah.
So thank you, Pahrump. Thank you.
Yeah, I got to meet them a little bit going into week 4. We're prepping for that show, and it was nice to meet. I think it was you're talking about Jackson there, one of the siblings, right?
Jackson and Juliet are the
Yeah,
brother sisters.
I love the energy there between them and the comfort. I think it's fun to have a sibling duo somewhere in there because there's a comfort there that experience doesn't necessarily have to be involved for them to be working. You know what I mean?
I
So
think I think the league lucks out with all these familial relationships we have. Brothers, sisters, twins, siblings, cousins. A lot. I mean, aren't people like programmed to not like their siblings sometimes? And we just seem to have all these actual like family members that actually enjoy being together. So maybe that's a shout out to the league, or we just get really awesome students. Because Jackson and
Yes.
Juliet, man, they haven't skipped a beat. They're
No.
always there.
Yeah.
Always there.
And I'm just going to say it now, and I'll harp on it a little bit next week, but I'm seeing a little Alex Keane in Jackson already. You notice that similarity, or is it just me? Yeah, we
Yeah.
got the nod.
Coach Alex. Yep.
We'll move on. Yeah, Coach Alex over there rubs off on his kids. It's a thing. And I'm missing my last piece of paper, but it's okay. It's our last show. It's pretty easy to tell. It's Durango and Cheyenne.
Yep. On paper, I was excited for this because Cheyenne was one of the teams that I talked about being small and chemistry.
And mighty.
Yep. I will argue that of the teams and students who are still sitting in their chairs, no one's probably doing it better than Cheyenne.
Okay.
So I'm saying that as a compliment and as a hey, please stand up. They played town hall meeting with sock puppets. I found myself just laughing the whole show at those four at the Cheyenne crew. Kimura is all positivity and just nice presentation. Susan, this was my favorite Susan performance for sure.
Oh, good.
Can't say enough positive things about DJ and Little Hot Cheeto. And then, that's Sam Umholtz over there at Cheyenne. Like they've got a real shot of doing well. Just got to stand up, y'all. Just
oh my
stand
gosh, it's a crime that Sam isn't standing up. What game did we play with him? It was a version of like foreign dub, I think, and he was just literally going from one side of the screen to the other for us. Like,
yeah.
guys, stand up, because if Sam Holtz is on his feet, you're not going to be able to keep up with the energy. It's going to be electric. Just do it.
Yes, I will not fight you at all because I want them to stand, but
Yeah.
man, are they still doing good work.
Good.
So
that's a remarkable thing to say, Kopy.
Right. That is the rarity right now. That is the anomaly right now. But that only means that by standing, they're going to do better. So that's what we want.
If seated your silliness is so grand, then stand for us to understand. Yep. I don't know. I tried. We'll put on a shirt someday.
And then on the other side, Durango's just keeps rolling. Just, Josh was just flawless. I mean, we talk about Emmy and Maya so much that the rest of the team doesn't get enough appreciation, but it's kind of what we just said about Cimarron. You don't have an Emmy and a Maya if you don't have a Josh and an Alicia and a Robert and a Dimitri. It just, oh God, are they flying?
You're totally right. And these kids, they're so lucky. If I had a Maya and a Emmy to play around, I mean, talk about the cornucopia of inspiration you get from kids like that performing. And I'm sure it was only a matter of time that more and more of these Durango students pick up some of their tricks and also find their own. Yep. So great to hear that.
And they got a lot of them. They got a lot of these tricks. I think they've always gone for the hardest stuff they can do and figure it out from day one. That's just what they've been doing.
I'm feeling only a slight amount of regret because, my boy Christian has been wanting to play Inception this whole season. And I think we're going to bring it to you in week 6, but I've been holding him back and I got to stop because look at Durango, always ready to eat the biggest pies and put out the biggest improv.
Yep.
Well, another school to watch, more milk, more pies, all of the food. I must be hungry. That's our last show, Kopy. Let's go ahead and skip into our props for the week. I love this part. I love talking about what stood out as the students, schools, scenes, or scenarios that really helped this week read best in the improv world. What really stood out? What's your first prop?
It was tough to narrow it to 3 this week. I almost wanted to give you like a bunch. But the 3 was my challenge. I'm going to do my first one to Marlene Rocha Diaz from Clark. One of the comments I made to Coach Durrell was, I think we've only scratched the surface with what Marlene can do. And there was one particular moment during this show where Marlene took a lap around her room and jumped and bounced off of all the furniture, like just so naturally, and then came back like she didn't, like, that's not what she just did. And just kept going because of her natural goofiness. So I mean, it spoke volumes to me. I was just like, oof,
Yeah.
yes, like go for it. So Marlene gets a shout out for sure.
I've seen Marlene play in that practice I was just referencing a few moments ago, and yeah, there's a lot that the kids at Clark can draw from Marlene, and Marlene can still draw so much from herself. So good, kudos to the prop. Number
Yep.
2.
I'm gonna go Nicole from Spring Valley.
Okay.
Nicole has always been a natural. I remember Nicole being a freshman and Coach Pete and even the teacher, like, man, this girl can play. So she's always just been naturally funny without much effort. But now there's some scene work in there. Now
Good.
there's listening and buttoning up scenes and finding and telling a story to completion, which how often do we never complete a scene?
I'm glad it's not just me.
Yeah, right. It's all of us. So to see that and just that thing we're just talking about having teammates. I mean, I think part of that is M and how powerful M is. So my props for sure go to Nicole. No one submitted more footage to me this week than Spring Valley guys. They gave me over 60 minutes of improv. I just saying.
Yep, we only need 25 guys.
Yep.
Just need 25. But
Yep.
that's cool. I mean, Nicole Fonts has been a big part of the league these last 4 years, and to hear that there's a switch flipping, as we all kind of want to see, where it's not just that you're confident, but that you're creating at a high level, super cool to hear. And third prop, buddy.
Hands down, without question, Josh Ocampo from Durango.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, cool.
Yeah,
Glad to hear it.
don't worry. Mia was in that thought in my head, but
Hey, Christian invented a game. That's all I'm saying, but that's fine. Keep going.
I know it. Unless you see Josh this week, like you just won't get it. If you perfection, like Emmy was in the show, and Emmy, yes, very clear MVP type show as always. But man, was Josh just perfect? So funny, top to bottom, made everything work and make sense, even the smallest parts. So yeah, Josh for sure. Bravo.
You have to celebrate those moments. So,
Yep.
kiddos, if you want to see what the trending students in the league are right now, check out your Clark show, check out your Durango show, and check out. Oh no, I had so much momentum, and then I
Spring
ate one.
Valley.
And Spring Valley. Cool. Thank you for catching me where I fall. I do the best I can. But yeah, go watch those shows, guys, and enjoy good improv. The best thing about this year is that it's all right in front of us and it gets to stay there and we get to go back and watch it all. If you haven't started watching videos from the season, give it a shot because every school's got a different texture. Everybody's improv's a little bit different and we deserve to highlight each other and support each other through these views. And I'll tell you what, some of these view counts on YouTube are hitting numbers that we never would have hit in our auditoriums. Let's be real. So
Sometimes, yeah.
see.
Yeah, sometimes you're right.
Yeah. So share them, talk about them, love them, and props to our 3 students this week. Forgive me for that moment of salt. It's only because I'm a coach that loves his kids. Let's move on to our next step, and that is going to be our Kopy challenge. So we are still sort of standing up, and at least I watched Desert Pines versus the Wild Cards. I can't answer for everybody else. But what's this week's homework for us? How can we get just a little bit better from week to week here in Jesters week 4 now that we're preparing for?
So one of my strongest skills is my to-do list. And my to-do list isn't just about today, it's about the long-term scenario. So this has a long-term effect and I think is really important. I would like everyone to make one post on their social media. The social media has kind of disappeared this year, and it doesn't have to. I get that it's a weird year, but we didn't have to just throw it away. That social media is how you stay connected. That social media is how you reach new players and new students. If you haven't noticed, the High School Jesters Instagram has changed a lot over the past couple of weeks. I am not a part of that because I can't do any of that. I don't get it. But I've got a team. I've got a meme team, is what I'm calling them, of people who are working on that. On this.
Yeah.
So
I
But
was wondering where all of these misspellings of your name were coming from. Kopy wants you to stop sending 20-minute games. Like, I'm like, why? I thought you were, okay, that's a personal story, but yeah, that was wild. So you have no hand in that, huh?
none. And where would I even, you know what I mean? But the amount of time that they're taking to do that and combing through shows and looking for pictures, I don't know if you realize it, but there's photo albums of still frames from all your shows.
Yep.
So I mean, one post a week is going to do so much for you guys. It really will. For the future of it, even if you're a senior on your way out, do this as a favor to your teammates.
I gotta ask, is there a way we can get to our folders full of pictures where kids can just extract the photos they want and make them into
Well,
stuff?
the easiest way is through the website, because the
Okay.
website will link you to everything. So
Okay.
highschooljesters.com. But I keep all of the photo albums on Facebook because it's the most easily navigatable tool to go through. Even if you don't have a Facebook, you don't have to have a Facebook to go click onto those folders.
Okay.
So, but the website will get you there. Facebook will get you there. Instagram is cool. Like, it's the most popular one right now, but its functionality stinks. So the amount of things that it allows you to do is so minimal, but that's what everyone's on. So
yeah, it's true. It's speaking with pictures instead of words, but follow those suggestions, guys. Find your photos, use your photos. There's a lot of funny images going up. Go ahead, Kopy.
yep, one post this week, guys. One post.
That's all we ask. One social media post. And I mean, if you haven't made a Bernie post, that's what Dulsol did a few weeks ago. Made me laugh. I mean,
Right?
Find the fad and use it for inspiration. Figure it out, add some words, make googly eyes, whatever you need to do, but enjoy it and use it and spread the word of yourselves because you deserve it.
Mhm.
And that takes us into our final segment. Kopy, I love it. Every time we highlight how much time we have and we joke that we're not going to need it, but we end up using it all anyway. You're now 2 minutes away from your next appointment, and I have a rushed Kopy challenge question for you. Not Kopy challenge, but Kopy query, I guess I should call it. Took me a while to think of a catchy name for it, but a Kopy query.
There
How
it
about
is.
this? You've mentioned it a few times this week, so how about my dynamic listening skills here, asking you to explain to us as a league, what is Kopy's definition of quote-unquote turning the corner in improv?
I have a little bit of this broken down to a science. So in the least amount of words possible, we all have a stride that we get to in our learning process that will always hit some sort of plateau, because that's what life does. Sometimes we can learn a lot and then we might hit our max of our learning, but turning that corner is reaching a new plateau. It's being able to add another layer. We all have something I call a natural character, and I think the reason that the league is what it is because we embrace all these natural characters. You get to come in here and be who you are, and that's all we want anyway.
100%.
So when we can add layers that we can control on top of our natural characters, that's when we're just doing it, man. That's when we're killing it.
Yeah.
So, but it takes a minute. It takes a minute to turn that corner. It's not easy.
So you would challenge that while Nicole or some of our other 4-year students this past week, like Jonathan, not a 4-year, but you know what I mean? We already did this. They turned corners. They found new layers, but you can always, I'm sure, suggest that there are layers on top of those corners, huh?
Yep, absolutely. It will never stop, and it hits for everyone at different times.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
it doesn't have to take 4 years. It could take a year. Who knows? It's going to be different for everybody.
Yep, I agree. It's fun to watch everybody turn their corners, and remember that corners are corners on tops of corners, and it becomes less wise the more I say the word corners. So we're going to leave it there. Congratulations to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They're now the champions of football.
The
and
champions.
yeah, not with no, you have to win a championship before you can be champions. But I wish you luck. This is
1971.
Okay, at least you remember the year. I'm happy for you. But it's not 1971. It's only 1971 on your hairline. So, ladies and gentlemen, Even I get Kopy jokes. This has been Warren Sprague. It's been a wonderful Just to recap. We will be back next week with week 4 fun. Kopy's off to go film yet more content for this entire league, so send him your thanks. Remember that the social media trash talk is not him, and we're going to continue with more great improv. We'll see you guys all next week for week 4. Bye, Kopy.
Yeah, y'all.
Go do more work while I'm lazy.